The UK-Russia Year of Culture has put the heritage of both countries under the spotlight in 2014. A collaboration between the British Council and the Russian Embassy, it has fuelled a panoply of events. In London, for example, 2 exhibitions of design and photography make for a gripping journey through modern Russian identity. GRAD, the Gallery for Russian Arts and Design in central London, has gathered together a remarkable array of domestic objects. From biscuit tins and toys to fridges and vacuum cleaners, they map the changing face of the Russian home from the revolution in 1917 through to perestroika.
After the war, and actually really after Khrushchev came to power, there was a recognized need for making beautiful objects. And the crucial moment in that recognition, I would say, probably came with Khrushchev's and Nixon's meeting during the American National Exhibition in 1959. At the same time, the Soviet exhibition opened in New York. And of course, looking at this, comparing these 2 different exhibitions, you could actually see the differences of the governmental system. So what the Soviets brought in was all the examples of the technological progress. The Americans took a different approach. They recognized this high need for consumer goods in the Soviet Union. And that's when Khrushchev told Nixon that we are flying Sputniks into space, and Nixon replied, yes, but you cannot make a toast at home. It was very influential, and people's perception of the America in the Soviet Union really changed. What we really tried to do is to show that the country was not as isolated, grey and gloomy as people come to perceive it at the West.
In Shoreditch, East London, Calvert 22 is a non-profit gallery which specialises in contemporary art from Russia and Eastern Europe. Currently, it is showing contemporary Russian photography alongside the images of Sergei Prokudin-Gorsky. A pioneer of colour photography, Prokudin-Gorsky was commissioned by Tsar Nicholas II to document an empire that stretched by then from Finland to Siberia. From 1909 to 1915, he travelled across Russia, photographing its peoples and landscapes. His images ranged from sunlit poppy fields, unchanged since the days of Peter the Great, to families dispossessed by the country's rampant empire building and workers in the Siberian mines. In 1915, war forced him to give up his travels, but by then he had achieved the feat of single-handedly mapping a country in the throes of cataclysmic change. 100 years on, a new generation of photographers are exploring what it means to be Russian. It's no mean task. In the Soviet era, documentary photography was all but impossible. These new images, taken in the present day but rooted in past times, are a valuable chronicle of a hitherto invisible world. Born in St. Petersburg and raised in Siberia, Max Scher has documented 40 cities across Russia, some of which have never been photographed before. His dispassionate approach echoes that of Prokudin-Gorsky, yet the Russia he reveals is very different. Urban, industrial, and utilitarian. Like Scher, the photographer Olya Ivanova also looks back to an earlier style of image making. Inspired by turn-of-the-century portraits of life in rural Russian villages, her photographs of the residents of a small community in the north of the country tell the story of a hidden world with tenderness and dignity.
Art is being supported by individuals, collectors, by individual galleries. There are these amazing people and amazing institutions. We don't have an equivalent of Arts Council or British Council, unfortunately. But there is a recognition coming that that is what is needed. Some galleries have closed down recently. I would say that the majority of these galleries deal with contemporary art. And this is really the situation that affects the art market. It spontaneously grew in the early 1990s. They created this bubble, which they then couldn't support. So when things happen too quickly, then of course there is a period of stagnation. There is this tendency to continue to revive it and hopefully it will all happen. It just needs time. I would say that there needs to be more reflection on what's happening at the moment. And we see that everywhere globally. We see that in American art, we see that in the British art. We don't really see that in the Russian art. We see some kind of individuals doing that, but that's not a trend. What we actually see as a trend is this nostalgic look at the Soviet times and this desperate need for a revival of the empire as a symbol.
Russia is facing difficult times. It's on the receiving end of widespread international condemnation for its attitude to human rights and its intervention in Ukraine. Artists, most famously Pussy Riot, have openly denounced President Putin. A major exhibition of British contemporary art planned for Moscow this autumn as part of the UK-Russia Year of Culture has been cancelled because the sponsors grew wary of association with the government. For Russia's contemporary artists and designers then, the task of capturing their country in all its complexity is more important than ever.